Welcome to this video. One of the things people say to me when they first come to have their foundations program experience is that there's something happening in their life and they get it logically, they get it rationally, but still the reaction keeps happening. It's like they logically understand what's going on, they logically understand that it's irrational and they cannot stop it. Nothing has changed it. It's an amazing place to be because it means they've realized and they're being responsible for themselves. They're taking ownership for themselves. So, in connection with the topic of how nuts it is that we're doing what we think is our best in managing, coping with, or nervous system regulating when we have stress, a threat response, a trigger, when most of the world thinks that's the best we can get. I'm going to talk more today about why that's not the best we can get, but specifically providing that logic as to why it is nuts that we think that's the best we can get. So, some examples that clients often come to me with, they are getting defensive in meetings. They're being like, either look at me, like get my words in, hear me, listen to my voice, or they're being defensive and reactive against feedback, against issues with the project, with their part in the project, with the timelines. They're, defensive. We all know how defensive feels. Clients have also come with problems with their kids. So feeling like they don't have any control of their kids and getting reactive against their kids, knowing it doesn't feel good, knowing it's not what they want to be doing, and yet still being reactive or judgmental against them. Be that small kids, that toddler to 5, 6-year-old kind of age, be that teenagers, where again there's that sense of, as parent, you are not in control of your young person. And if you're trying to be in control, trigger, reaction, threat, judging them for their behaviors, judging them for how they're being and who they're being. That doesn't feel good. So clients come for that too. Clients have also come for situations where they've been in meetings and they've reacted aggressively in anger, knowing it's completely inappropriate, completely unnecessary, and still feeling like they're backed into a corner, and out comes the reaction. Clients have come with frustrations over people in their team or people they're working with who aren't playing their part, they're not stepping up, they're not doing what's required of them, they're not doing what's expected of them. They come for that. Clients also come for places where they see they're holding back. We sometimes forget that that's also a threat response. That holding back, that censoring, that I'd best not say this because what will they think? I'd best not say this because what if I trigger them? I'd best not say this because eggshells, eggshells, eggshells everywhere. And so there's that holding back, that censoring, that suppression of your own perspective, your own view, your own preferences, your own wants. Because I'll just keep the peace, I'll just smooth this over, I'll just try and keep this all settled. And the common theme with all of these experiences is that none of them feel good. That's why people come. We want to feel good. We know that deep down, we know our natural state is to feel good. That's why when clients come and we talk about how they want to feel at the end, of course, then they're saying, I want to feel at peace, I want to feel calm, I want to feel grounded, I want to feel in charge, empowered, I want to feel light, I want to feel liberated, I want to feel free. We know all those feelings are really what we're naturally designed to feel. That is what we're naturally designed to feel. And we all know that deep down. And sometimes not so deep down. Sometimes it's blooming obvious. And so all of these situations that bring people to me are perfect examples of where a threat response is happening. And some of them have already tried other things. And they've seen it's not working. This reaction is still happening. I cannot control it. I cannot do anything about it. In fact, another thought that just came to mind, a common theme for clients is that doubt thing, that imposter syndrome. That's a threat response. Oh, what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not capable enough? What if I'm going to be found out? What if they find I'm a fraud? That is also a threat response. And all of these are entirely unnecessary. So what I'm going to do is share about what most stress management, mindset work, personal development, most of what's happening in the world. I'm going to talk more about that, which is in that camp of manage, cope with, nervous system regulate, and why that's not the ultimate solution. And of course, from my own experience, from my experience of my clients, the Mace Energy Method is the solution. So let's take, for example, that situation of being in a meeting where you feel like your work's being threatened, your project timelines are being threatened, your delivery for shareholders is being threatened, your bonus is being threatened, your performance review, if you're lucky enough to have one, is being threatened. Um, all of that, or just your idea is being threatened, your intelligence is being threatened. All of those are the kind of situations that can create that threat response, can create that trigger and cause that inner reaction, which we don't like, we don't want, and is not necessary. It is superfluous to your experience. So, what most development is doing is trying to logicalize you out of that. I do love that word, logicalize. It's trying to use the rational mind to deal with something which is an instantaneous physical reaction. So, most of that, you're reframing beliefs, uh, questioning limiting beliefs, um, using logic, using rationale. So, for example, you're sitting with your coach and they're saying, so you reacted in that meeting, what was going on? Yeah, well, they challenged me on this and that was my idea and it's a good idea. Okay, so let's break this down. So your system is reacting as though there is a tiger in the room. Were you in an actual life-threatening situation? Oh, well, no, but okay. So there is no actual life-threatening situation. You weren't in danger of dying in that moment. No, I guess not. Okay, so let's look at this rationally. Was your idea genuinely bad? No, I think it's a valid idea. Okay. Were you attached to that idea? Well, yeah, it was my idea. I thought it was the best idea. Okay. So by being attached to that idea, you then believed you personally were under threat. Were you personally under threat? Well, my idea was, my intellect was, my standing, my authority, my position in the team was under threat. Was it definitely? Actually, what evidence do you have of that? Gather the evidence. What evidence do you have that your idea was good and it was valid? Gather the evidence. Can we see there are two sides to this, that there are multiple sides to this, that there are a multitude of perceptions and possibilities? And can you see that there's a lot of grey here and it's not just black and white, good idea, bad idea? Huh, yeah, I see that now. So we've logically, rationally gone, huh, yeah, there was no actual life-threatening situation. There was no need to react. Huh, interesting. So that kind of rationale, that logic, that mindset work, that reframing of limitations can open things up in that moment, can lighten things in that moment, and does. That was where I began my journey. But when you haven't dealt with the core of the trigger in your system, then that trigger just gets triggered somewhere else, sometimes even in the same situation. The rationale didn't necessarily completely solve having your ideas challenged. So you could well be in the exact same situation the next week and somebody's challenging your idea and that threat response happens again. Or let's say you did fully get in that moment that it's okay to have your ideas challenged. Let's just say that you fully got that, but that trigger is still there. And so all it means is that another context, another person, another situation will simply press on that trigger again. And that reaction will be there again. And you again will be in a situation that feels like a life-threatening situation in that moment. And the reaction happens and it either comes splurging out or you suppress it, or you positive mindset yourself out of it, or you try and rationale yourself out of it. But the fact is that reaction has still happened. And it is not in your control for it to happen or not in that moment. And that's the sign that you need something deeper. So logically, rationally, you can say till the cows come home, I am not in a threatening situation. I am not about to die. This is not a tiger. You can rationally, logically say, question yourself, question the belief, question the thoughts. You can do all of that. But until that trigger is actually dealt with, it will keep reacting. It will keep firing off. It will keep creating that threat response. And some people would say, well, you need to do somatic work. So more people now are doing somatic work, breath work, or getting fully into the body and feeling the sensations and all manner of other similar genres of that kind. So it's like globally, the world has gone from mindset work, reframing. Now more people are beginning to move into this somatic work, the getting in connection with the body, being in connection with feelings, moving through feelings, facing fears in the body. That still didn't solve it for me. What I discovered was that was still, it was a deeper version of the mindset work, but it was still just, um, it was lightening a layer. It was still just um, seeing it for what it was. It was like, huh, yes, this feeling is here right now. Huh, yeah, that's what it feels like. Yes, I can breathe into that, and that definitely lightens it up. And a week later, 2 weeks later, reaction is still there. Maybe a different context, maybe different people, but the reaction was still there, which was exactly what led me to the Mace Energy Method. Because when I heard them say, this deletes and this creates, deals with, removes negative identities, I knew, oh, that is what I need. It's not just a belief. It's not just a feeling in the body. There was a whole negative identity creating that reaction, which is really another way of saying threat response. Negative identities were a genuine response to a genuine threat in the moment way back when, or what felt like a genuine threat in the moment way back when. And then we've just carried it forward and carried it forward and carried it forward and kept feeding it energy by giving it our time and attention, by trying to manage it, by trying to control it, by trying to nervous system regulate it. All of that actually amplifies it. All of that actually gives it more time and energy because none of those things actually deal with that origin of it. None of them actually remove the fact that you just should not even be having a threat response in that moment at all. They're all a way of settling, soothing, lightening. But the threat response, until you actually deal with the origin of it, will keep reacting. It will keep happening. Once that's gone, genuinely no threat. Nothing to rationalize yourself out of, nothing to logicalize yourself out of, nothing to positive mindset yourself out of, nothing to breathe through, nothing to self-regulate, nothing to settle down from. Because when there's no actual threat response trigger being triggered, there's no problem to solve. There's nothing to do. It's why people are so surprised by the end of their Mace Energy Method process. Because they're like, really? It's just gone? Like that's it gone? You've spent so much of your life living with this stuff. It seems impossible. It's incredulous that that's possible for that to be completely gone out of the system. But it is, it's gone, it's deleted, it's dealt with. Now, it's not necessarily the only one. If you're like me, you've got a lot. But some people actually, they have their foundations and they're done. They're like, oh my God, amazing. I'm free again. I'm back to being me again. I'm back to feeling at peace, grounded, present, calm, clear, rational, like genuinely rational without having to react and then rationalize. I'm just rational without reacting and causing all these problems in relationships and having to unwind them and then getting an insight about it. No, I'm just not causing the problems in relationships. When the reaction is gone, when the threat response trigger has gone, there is nothing to manage, there is nothing to cope with, there is nothing to self-regulate because it's gone, deleted, cleaned out. So this is my invitation to you. If you want to get ahead of the curve, if you want to save yourself a whole heap of time and energy and money, bearing in mind I spent 10 years and about 70 grand trying to deal with this stuff. You don't have to. You can shortcut that whole process. Like, it was valuable for me to do it. That was part of my job to do that. Who knows? Maybe it's part of your job to do that. It was important for me to do that. It was relevant for me to do that. It was part of my purpose to do that. But if you're somebody who loves to leapfrog, who loves to get ahead of the curve, who loves to be an early adopter, diving in to something which will give you a shortcut, which will avoid you having to do a whole bunch of work, which will ultimately not actually deal with the trigger, then I would love to work with you because it is unnecessary. These threat responses are happening every single day. Every single time they do, it's unnecessary waste of your time and energy. It's unnecessary problem creation. It's unnecessary inflammation in your body. It's ultimately unnecessary health problems, as it's well known now that chronic stress and chronic health situations are synonymous. So if you want to stop this unnecessary threat response reaction, because there is literally not a life-threatening situation, if you want to shortcut that whole process and not have to do that whole thing of talking yourself out of it and embodying and somatic and blah, 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 if you want to shortcut all that, just delete the source. I'd love to meet you. So I'll put all the links below, everything you need if you want to just find out more, if you want to jump straight in and work with me, have your foundations program, get these triggers cleaned out of your system so that you can move through the world present, clear, grounded, at peace, light, all the things my clients say, unaffected, the favorite word that my clients say. If you want to be feeling all of that, back in charge of your own life, unaffected by the people around you, unaffected by their feedback, their challenge, their words, their perspective, present and able to respond from grounded clarity. If you want all of that, yeah, all of that. I'll stop talking now. I look forward to meeting you. Take care.